it's innocent. But again, you realize that the general public, the other people who are looking at it, some of them might not be very comfortable with it. I think people have competing views. The public has competing views. My name is Naftali. I do content moderation. It's not something that is popular or known, but basically it's sifting through to make sure that the community is safe on the online platforms. Ideally, I log in. I clock in at 7 a.m. I sign in on 3 different apps. One is for the time, the timer, and the other is the actual work platform, and the other is there's a feedback platform. So when I sign in at 7, I start with first of all, going through the feedback from the client. The client is the owner of the work. In this case, it's Meta. So you get feedback and instructions that were posted while you are away from work. And then you acknowledge that you have seen them. Ideally, it's supposed to be from 7 to 4, 8 hours, but maybe a break in between of about an hour. You can take when you take tea break and when you take lunch. In between, there is the work that you do, yes, where the work keeps coming. And what happens is that one job comes at a time because you log in into the client site. It's called the SRT. And then once you finish a task, another one comes in like that up to the end of the day. And the thing is, these tasks are timed. If you take more than 8 minutes on a single task, the system kicks you out. Within the day, you might find that you have a meeting to discuss what is trending. Because basically we look at social media content that is hate speech, or rather words that people have written that may not be very good or palatable on the online platform. We also look at videos and we look at images. And most of these we don't look at everything that people post. For example, our team, we look at all that is posted for Africa and part of what is posted in the Europe. So we get tasks, basically, or jobs that either have been reported by the system or people have reported them. And those are the tasks we decide what happens to them based on the Facebook community guidelines and standards. Sometimes there are trends, maybe in the country, like now in Kenya, the political atmosphere and the disappearances and all those things. So we look at those kind of things, and then we discuss in your specific team, how are they affecting our work? And then we raise them with the client, Facebook, and we say, this one, based on these policies, I think it should be allowed on the platform, and this one, based on these policies, should be allowed or should not be allowed. So it depends. It's always case by case. And then sometimes you also have trends that are happening internationally. Like I remember one case for the period when we had the George Floyd thing. Yeah, it was quite a trendy thing, and again, normally we discuss. Facebook has their own policy team which give us these updates and keep saying, okay, this one, based on this policy, it has been agreed like this, or based on the laws of different countries, this is what has been agreed. But there's a time when we ourselves push back based on our local context. So this work, basically, you have a meeting like that and you discuss and you agree. If it's approved, then you work with the decision that has been approved. If it's not, then you revert back to the original decision. Based on those languages you work on, you are placed in a team. So these teams, when we have content that is related to your context, it's you who come in as the experts to say, in our context, this one should not be violating, or in our context, this one should be violating. So we have the calibration meetings where the team looks at what is happening and how it affects the work. We have the updates and we have the work. So by the end of the day, by the end of my shift by 4, I am expected to have reached a certain quota of tasks. Generally, it's between 700 to 1,000 tasks within the 8 hours. And I am supposed to meet a quality. The quality metrics requirement is 95%. So the work that we do is always, there's a team called the quality analyst who go back to sample the work I do and say they didn't do well here, they did well here, and that affects how you earn, and it could even cost you your job. So basically my day, you come, you sit, you work. In between the shift, you can take a break, but when you are told by the team lead, or if you request and it's approved. But at the end of the day, you must have reached 8 hours. So if you extend your break by some minutes, you still have to recover them. If you are taking some time because of the content, that the content has affected you negatively, you still have to recover that time. Yeah, basically that is my work. And then when you're done, you sign out and then you go home. The work comes with a heavy responsibility to keep the community safe. Because basically, if you are in the general public and you find that social media is having good stuff, there are no disturbing content. Most of the time you don't know what is happening in the back end, but there are people who look at that bad stuff and say this one should not be there and remove it so that you can't see it, to make sure that you're safe. And basically there are some content, the work we do affects what happens in the real world. For example, there are times people post, we know where so-and-so lives, and because he said this against our person, let us go and kill them. You know, such content, if it is not removed, that person may end up. There are cases which have happened before. There are some times when you find someone bullying another, just posting nasty comments about another. And such content, if they violate the community standards, we have to remove them, because those things can lead to someone committing. There are times when you find sexual activity. People engage in sexual activities with animals and then they post the video of the whole thing. And some of them also sexual activity involving children. Someone having sex with a child, of course without the children, they cannot really consent, so it's actually rape. And throughout the day you find that you have different emotions. Because right now you might find a post that is misinformation, something that is saying something that you know it's not true based on the facts. You might find a post that leads, maybe someone is saying, I want to commit suicide and I will commit at this time. And then another time you find a video where someone has committed or an accident has happened, and you can see even their visible innards, their blood, maybe the hand has been cut off, or you can see the intestines, and someone maybe just witnessed the accident and posted. So already you see that's different. And then you might find sexual content that makes you. So throughout the day, there are a lot of different feelings. If you find sexual exploitation content, especially against children, it makes you begin to think. If you left your children at home or they are at school, now you begin to get worried. Sometimes you might even want, now, I need to make a call. But remember, even this work, we're not supposed to have phones. We don't have phones when we are working. You always keep them away in your locker room. So basically, if you step out to go and make a call, it means that the time you are out, you have to recover it, and it always brings problems. Throughout the day, there are different feelings. Although there are some days where you can just find you are just getting sexual content. So that means by the end of the day, my friend, you'll be in trouble. There are days again when you find you are just getting only that content throughout the day. So it's really not one feeling. Sometimes it's fear, sometimes it's anxiety, sometimes it's feeling throughout the day. Sometimes it's kind of, you're just watching, like, imagine watching pornography the whole day, or watching graphic violence the whole day. So it depends with the day. But at the end of the day, they are all, I can say, negative feelings, because basically that is your job, to remove the bad content. It's once in a while when you find something that is not violating, that means like it's good content. What they do at my job is very funny, actually, because they bring in, how do we call them, psychologists who come from different fields. And then we call them wellness coaches. So what happens is that they tell you that if you feel overwhelmed, you can request for a session, and you go and you have a session with that person. What the wellness coaches do is that when they come in, like there is a one who came from, they used to work in a hospital, and they will talk to patients who are terminally ill, maybe someone who is suffering from cancer, and they have been told you have this number of remaining days. So they bring these psychologists from different fields. But the only problem is that these psychologists do not know the work we are doing. So when they are onboarded, they don't even know what we do. So they just sit in their office, and then you go there when you feel that you are overwhelmed with the work. Maybe you have seen a lot of child exploitation content that you can speak to your team lead and they request. So if it's approved, you go and have a session with them. Normally it's between 15 minutes to 20, even sometimes 30. But again, if you go, for example, for 15 minutes and you go beyond, you have to recover that time. Sometimes you need more time to do that. So these wellness coaches, you can see them, one, by you requesting. It can be approved, it may not be approved. If it's approved, you go and see them. But the thing is, when you go to see them, they will tell you, how are you feeling? Just the routine is kind of a buddy. They just ask you, how are you feeling? What do you want to talk about today? So they really don't know what you do. And there's a time I even told them, why don't you come and see? And when they came, I think they needed more. Now they needed to be provided for the wellness support. And the problem again is that these people, when they come in, the management uses them to spy on employees that who have dissenting views, or who want to say something that is not right. If, for example, when the computers are not working right, actually what happens is that in some cases when some computers are not working right, you have to come in early to use the one that is working right. Sometimes when you have broken chair, basic administration and operational issues, and they don't want you to complain. So when you're going to it's supposed to be a counselor where you can confide in, or even a psychiatric person who can understand what you are doing and help you to get the right help. But they are used by the management to spy and to punish those who are complaining or raising things that are happening that are not right. So basically they are there. And on a shift, we are about 200 plus. And the shift that has most people is the day shift, the one from 7. But funny enough, even on shift like those ones, you only have one person who is the wellness coach, who is attending to all these people. So if all of you or 5 of you are affected at the same time, you have to wait. They will tell you, Naftali is still in the session, so you wait, we see. If it's approved, you go after them. And there are cases where some of our colleagues, you find that the content that you are seeing, for example, someone being slaughtered, you find that that person is your cousin or your friend, someone you personally know. That hits you different. And you go to the wellness coach and you even ask for some time to go home, but you're not given, and you really don't get help. So these wellness coaches, basically, they are provided as a form of PR, just so that they can tell the public, or they can tell the government in case of anything that what, we are providing support for these people, even though the work negatively affects them. Yeah, but basically that's how it works. When you're using social media platform like TikTok, Facebook, Instagram and others, sometimes you say, why did they delete this thing? They should have left it. And sometimes you say, why did they leave this thing on the platform? This thing should not be there. And I think people have competing views. The public has competing views. The people who post the content, sometimes people post innocent posts. For example, an accident. Maybe you just want to tell the world, what, there's an accident at this place, don't follow this place. But then you realize the post itself has graphic videos. The victims of the accident, maybe they are dead, or they have broken neck, or you can see blood, broken parts, and it's innocent. But again, you realize that the general public, the other people who are looking at it, some of them might not be very comfortable with it, in as much as it's just you are reporting the accident. So there are competing views from the general public. Some people feel, content moderation should not be happening. But some people even don't know it's happening. They think they are told it is AI, that it's automatic, that the system detects and removes. So the truth is that there are people who actually do the work. There are people who sit somewhere and look at the things that, some of the things that you post that have been reported by other people, and some of the things that the system takes. Because what is happening with these big tech companies, social media companies, is that when we began the work, they put a system where AI model where the action you take is recorded. So they are trying to look into a future where the work will be done by AI. And so part of what the AI has been able to learn is picking keywords. So if it realizes like keywords for bullying, like you, or you are a donkey, or things like that, the AI system picks it, and then it adds it to the task line. So when it comes to you, they tell you that it's highlighted, part of maybe the whole post. They tell you, this one has been flagged for this. Is it so or not? So that you can even train the model further. The public should know it's not a system that picks, a system that moderates content. It's human beings. It's human beings who sit and look at all those things. And then based on the community standards, and these community standards are created based on public interest and based on the laws that are used not just in one country, but all over the world. Because remember, the social media is a community for the whole world. You can be in Kenya, but you are posting content that will be seen by people in the US. You can be in US and post content that can be seen by people in other parts of the world. So there are people who do this job. You need to know there are people who do this job, and this job is affecting them in a negative way. Another thing that there are some people who say, maybe if your post was removed, or if you are doing TikTok and then you are banned, normally it's not a good experience if you are the person who has been banned. But what people do not realize is that, can you think of what you are doing and how it can affect other people? Most people don't think about that. Another thing is, if you look at like the government and the authorities, most of them do not even have an idea of what is happening. They don't even know what content moderation is. I think they just imagine, just like the other people, that it's systems, that it's the AI that removes these things. And when it comes to a government thinking like that, then there is a big problem, because these are the entities that we look at protecting us in terms of the regulations and in terms of making sure that the community is safe and the people who do the work are safe. So the public should know that there are people who do this work. Public should know that whatever you post and people see, it affects people in different ways. So sometimes it's good to be considerate, to know this thing I am posting. There are people who do hookup work. If you are doing hookup work, then maybe if you have to do it, why don't you do it in a way that it doesn't, for example, violate the rights of children, so that children do not have access to nudity and sexual activity and things like that. So whatever you are doing, the public, you should consider, if this post is seen by a certain audience, how will it affect them? If you are posting someone's phone number or someone's personal details, like where they live, and recruiting other people to hate them or to harm them, think about if that was done to you. So the public should know there are people who do it, and how it affects these people, and how what they do affects other people. Quite a number of them, actually. If you look at what's happening in Kenya right now, we have what is called the Business Law Amendment Bill for 2024 that is happening. And The background of this bill is that it was initiated because a certain group of moderators who pointed out illegal activities and human rights violations that were happening, they took the company to court. And the company went, the politics, they went and did handshake with the politicians, and now that's how the bill came in. But you see, the bill itself is a good thing. The only problem now is that the focus has been on BPOs. And what we would like to see change is remove the focus from the BPOs, because we know when it comes to business, it can take various forms and shapes. Tomorrow it will not be BPOs. Tomorrow it might just be an individual like me saying, come and moderate this content. And what these big tech companies do is that they outsource, but they really don't fully outsource. They kind of get a broker and they say, you know what, you get me people to do this work and put them in a certain location, and then the rest I will handle. So they do that to avoid liability and to take responsibility for the work. They they want you to work for them, but they are ashamed of you, so they hide you. Like moderators, mostly we are invisible, and that's why even most people don't know about us. So you sign the contract with the broker, the third party, in this case now the BPO. So one of the things that we would like to see change is the owner of the work, like in this case Meta, should not be ashamed of having people who work for them as content moderators and sign a contract with them. They should not use the broker, sign the contract with the broker, so that in case of any liability, they don't. Just take on, these are your employees, and recognize them as Meta employees. And sometimes they do it to make sure that they pay you below the required. And so, first of all we are proposing a change. The current situation in Kenya is that an employee is someone who signs a contract with a particular organization or person. And so these big tech companies, once they make sure that you sign the contract with the broker, it means now they are considered not your employer. But let me shock you. When you get to work, it stops being about the broker. Everything you do, you did directly with the Facebook. Whether it is the changes that are required, whether it is the quality of work, whether it is the number of tasks. In fact, there are times when if you don't reach a certain threshold, the Facebook communicates with the broker and tells them, now for this person, they didn't do this and this, implement this punishment. So now you can ask yourself, who is really my employer? Is it this broker that does what they are told, or is it the person who I actually work for? The platform that we sign on to is actually for Facebook. Everything we do, when you sign in, basically you are on your PC and you deal with Facebook direct. But when it comes to when you're supposed to come to work, what do you call them, extra hours, they work through the broker. They tell them, now, there is a lot of workload. Can we have people do extra hours and we can compensate? If it comes to the payroll, it's the broker who handles it. So what we are proposing is that if there is such a tripartite arrangement where the big tech company is trying to work with the local company, then there should be an agreement for joint employment where both the owner of the work, like in this case Facebook, and this broker will sign a contract with the employee. And then each party has their responsibilities clearly defined, so that the employee will be someone who either you are an integral part of the process of these employers. The work you do benefits them. They control your working hours. They control what you do, even your pay and remunerations, so that it is very clear. And then the employee needs to have a contract, the same contract signed by both parties, just like them. Because what has been happening is that you sign the contract with the broker, but the broker doesn't sign. They give you a contract before they sign. When you sign and return to them, you never get a copy. When you resign, or when they send you away, when they let you go, they sack you in basic terms. You do not have access to that contract. You do not have access to these contracts that you have. So the change that we are proposing is that if the big tech companies want to have a tripartite arrangement, then they should enter into a joint employment. And that's where we are introducing the joint employment aspect in the amendment bill, so that it can be entrenched in law and it's known. So it's not something that is done just for the sake, but it's clearly known. The parties that are involved know their responsibilities and what they're expected of. And then currently also in Kenya, we have the definition of employee and employee is the traditional one, where you go to a physical office, maybe from 8 to 5 or 9 to 5, and then you work, and then you meet your targets or whatever you are doing, and then you go away. But we are proposing a change in the definition of employee and employer to match the current reality. Today, you don't have to go to a physical office to work. You can be here in Kenya and you are doing remote work. You're working for a company that is outside this country from the comfort of your home or from a place that is not the physical office of that. So we would like that to be entrenched again in the bill and in the changes as recognized as a proper employee and get the benefits and legal protections that come with it. The big tech companies and the third party, the brokers, they have been misusing the NDA. They don't use it to protect the intellectual property, but they use it to silence the dissenting voices. They use the NDA, so you sign the NDA, and then if there is any abuse, human rights abuse, or if there is any discrimination at work, they use the NDA to threaten you. You know you're not supposed to say. They will sue you, or they withhold your benefits because of when you raise something that has to do with your work, a violation that has happened. So we are saying that the law should require that this NDA is used for protecting intellectual property only, and in cases where they are used to intimidate people or deny them their rights or to cover for injustice that is happening, then they should be considered null and void. We are also looking at wage disparity. Like if you look at the people who work on African content in Kenya, whether it is for TikTok or Facebook, you are doing the same work, same requirements, same demands. In fact, maybe some of them slightly higher than the people who are doing the same job for the same company in other parts of the world. But there is a very huge wage disparity. Whatever you are earning is like they earn 20 times or 10 times what you earn, or even sometimes 30 times what you earn. So that wage disparity is very shocking. Because if you're doing the same job with the same work and same demand, I mean, everything is same, and even same employer, and you are getting that kind of work just because you are African or just because you are Kenyan, and in Kenya, the wage bill, the minimum wage, that of a house help is 15,000, then they say, no, you know what, we are paying you 2 times the minimum wage. We are paying you 2 times what we pay the house help, so you should be happy. So what we are suggesting is that in as much as it's not possible to really police what people agree in terms of pay, the employer and the employee, but that there shouldn't be such wage disparity. If the work is the same, the employer is the same, the requirements are the same, and these people are doing basically the same thing, except they are in different locations. So we really would like to see that change. Yeah. There is another trend that is happening with BPOs and people who are working remotely. First of all, if you look at the bill, before I come to that, if you look at the bill, it has focused on BPO services. But we realize that, if we come to remote work, it's not just about content moderation. There are people who do, admin assistant, they support other companies abroad. There are people who do finance, consulting, people who do medical transcription. There are people who offer legal services remotely. And we want the bill to consider all aspects of IT-enabled services and not just focus on content moderation, because content moderation is only a small part of it. In future, there are companies which will come, someone is doing medical transcription, but they are in Kenya and the company is in India, for example. So we need the bill to cover all internet-enabled or IT-enabled services so that it doesn't narrow itself to BPOs or to content moderation. There is something else you mentioned about The contract, yeah. So what has been happening with the BPOs and these big tech companies, if you're working in a BPO setting, so you have signed a contract with the BPO and not the person, the company or the person who is supposed to be your actual employer. And what they do is that they make sure they don't give you long-term contracts. They give 1 month's contract, 3 months contracts, 6 months, 12 months. Actually, the maximum I have seen is 12 months. And they do that to make sure that you don't get the benefits that come with the job and the legal protections. And they do that to circumvent the law. So you might work for 3 months, they say now you are rest for 2 weeks, there is no more work. And within the 2 weeks, you are no longer an employee and you don't get paid. And then they will bring you back and say, okay, now you can continue, then you sign another contract for 3 months. So what we are proposing in the bill is that if there are employers who circumvent the law by having these short-term contracts, is that if you have this kind of short-term contracts and the period between when you stop working and when you come back to working is 60 days or less, then you should be considered as having fixed contract. And therefore you should be able to get the legal protections and the benefits that come with the fixed term contracts. They also use that to avoid legal repercussions. For example, if they tell you now there is no more work, even if there is work and maybe they just feel you have been pointing out the mistakes they are doing or something that is not right too much, they use that to send you away and say, oh, your contract elapsed. They use there's a term one of them used, a fraction of time. So that should stop, and we would like to see that change and perhaps it really integrated into the business amendment bill. First of all, the immediate family. Now, when it comes to the immediate family, there's a problem because of the NDS. You know, the NDS says that you are not supposed to tell anyone, like anyone, including your spouse or your mother, your father, or your people, or your friends, that you do content moderation. That has to come along with first of all, the NDA thing, so that it doesn't be used to gag you or to limit the support you can get. The immediate family and the close friends, they need to understand that content moderation itself is mostly hazardous to your mental health. It drains you and it affects how you relate with others. In fact, what happened is that when we stopped talking to our friends, we lost friends. And most of them said, you know what, these people have made it in life, so they have cut us off. And then you remain lonely. So we want our friends and our immediate family to know that this work negatively affects us in how we socialize, in how we behave. We have nightmares and all those kind of things. And so it's very difficult really to say that they should understand, because it's very difficult to understand what someone is experiencing when they are a content moderator. It's different from when you experience it and when you are telling someone who hasn't gone through it. So they should just try to be as understanding as possible and try to get us help whenever they can and how they can possible. So if someone who is doing content moderation tells you, no, I feel I cannot go to this function because it gives me memories of how children were violated and that kind of things. If you see someone who is doing content moderation overprotective of their children, they can't leave their children with anyone, or if they hear that a teacher has caned their child and maybe they have been hurt, they are so, you can say they are overreacting. Try to understand where they are coming from. But again, there is another group now. The general public needs to understand that these people do a very important job, making sure that you are safe, both in real world and online. So public needs to acknowledge that and be able to support by sponsoring and supporting. If there are bills or if there are policies that can support these people, the public should be able to rally behind it and say, yes, we recognize the work you do and we support it. The public should also not be quick to judge, oh, this was removed, this was not removed. Because what you don't know is that, first of all, we are understaffed, and then we are under-equipped. So if you rush to judge without really understanding what is happening behind there, you might be in error. So the public needs to understand that the people who do content moderation, they do important work. and try to support policies and laws that will really help them to do the work effectively. The other group that needs to really, which can support us, is the employer. The big tech companies or the BPO or the people who are involved actually in controlling the work and how much we earn and what we do, basically. They need to, it doesn't have to be that if Facebook is winning or if it's making money from content moderation, then the content moderators are hurting. Both of us can win. Facebook can still make their monies from the advertisement and the other activities they get. And then us, we can also do the content moderation with the right mental health and psychiatric support, and also do it willingly without having the human trafficking aspect where someone now is coerced or really forced into doing the job that they really feel uncomfortable doing. Both of us can still win. Content moderators can still be healthy and do this job comfortably with the right support. And then at the same time, the company can still continue investing and growing. So it doesn't have to be this one has to lose and this one has to win, or the other way around. We both can win. But first of all, it has to be intentional. Just the way they have been intentional in violating and circumventing the law, they can still be intentional in saying, you know what, we know this work is tough, we know this work affects you like this, and we are willing to support. The question that should be constant from these kind of groups should be, how best can we support you to do your job? And it has to be an everyday question, and it has to be followed with action. Yes, you said there is a problem with confidentiality now. How best can we support you? We get someone different, we get the system working different. Maybe we get an independent psychiatric and psychological team that does not have to report to the management, but that is supporting you, and they raise issues that can help them to support as well. There's another group of the lawmakers and the regulators. I think first of all, they just need to create that interest and to ask themselves what is happening. Like in Kenya right now, we have been having a clash, and most of it, so they can say it's misunderstanding. The older generation and the political community, they view the young people as a threat to them. When you see an emoji that you don't like being associated with you, when you see pictures of people in caskets, especially prominent people, they see that as a threat. But you see, they fail to address the bottom line, the real issue. Now, if I am to connect that with content moderation, now you realize that you see some of these things they post. There are people who are behind the screens who have to look at and say, no, this one should be violated, this should not be violating. So instead of fighting, they should ask themselves, what is actually the root cause? What is the problem? So that they address the problem from the root cause and not the symptoms. So what they do is they try to address the symptoms. If the government and the lawmakers can look at the proposals that we have made, especially for the business amendment law, and consider them, I think that will be a very big first step into, first of all, recognizing remote workers, platform workers, recognizing the challenge they face, and try to offer as much legal protections as possible. And also to achieve that balance, because, government, politics, the political group will say, no, you know what, we want to create jobs for 300,000 people. And then you come and you say, no, the work I'm doing, I am being discriminated, I am being underpaid, I am suffering from the effects of the work. So the focus should not just be, we have created 250,000 jobs. The focus should be, what kind of job have you created? How is it affecting the people who do it? Do they have the right support? 10 years from now, how will the people who have been doing this job be like? What kind of society will you have? So if they can have that kind of foresight and keep implementing these changes to improve the working conditions, to improve the situation, I am sure that in due time then we will have content moderators who are happy and content and who have the right support system so that they are not affected by this work. And of course, who are doing this work out of their own volition and not out of compulsion or now being trafficked and now they can't go back to their country. So they just have to be there and try to survive. And lastly, we have now the fellow content moderators. What happens is that at some point, actually, we looked and say, the way this work is affecting us, can we really do this job for the next 3 years? And we begin to toy with the idea, no, you know what? What if we just try to earn some money and try to transition into something else? But there is no exit. There is no exit route really, except when you are either sacked or you resign. But remember, the effects of this work, they follow you where you go. And some of them are irreparable. There is even someone who was taken to Mathare and had to go back to the home country. The people who come in, they are not abusing drugs. But that person came in and they started now, out of the work that we do, they started abusing marijuana and the other hard drugs. And eventually they lost it. So perhaps maybe what they can do, not just the employees supporting each other, but also the employer looking at, if this person is doing now, once we have already corrected, this person is doing this job willingly, they have the right support system, but they reaches to a point where they feel, now I need to exit. They should be able to exit. And that can only happen first if there is fair pay. If you are paying me peanuts, it means by the time I'm leaving, there is nothing I can really support, I can hang on as I look for a transition. And then second, there should be post-work mental health support. That is very important. So if that happens, I think it will be a very good thing for content moderators. Not just those who have done and left, but those who are coming to do it and those who are doing it. Yeah.
Any parting shots?
I don't know. The kind of work that content moderators do is important. And the content moderators, the government, the employers and the brokers, and everyone who is involved needs to see it as such. The public needs to see this work as important. But they can't do that if they don't understand what the work entails and how much real-world harm we prevent. The best way to appreciate is for all these parties to be able to look at this work objectively and see what is really happening, what are these people doing. You look at the value this thing is bringing to the society, and not just in Kenya, but the whole of Africa and the rest of the world. And then you ask yourself, if these people are doing this job, what am I doing? The lawmakers, what are you doing? The public, what are you doing? The employers, what are you doing? So everyone has a role to look at it, even those who are offering the support, the psychiatrist and the psychologist. What am I doing? What am I contributing my 2 cents? What am I doing to make sure that if this work is essential, it keeps happening and it doesn't leave a broken society? And that will be good for both of us. And it will be the win-win situation I talked about. The moderators win, the employers win, the country wins, more income and high capacity. And then we have the right support system for the psychological care.